Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alex, Senior Account Executive at GDMFX. This is today's European Session Outlook. We'll start with the North American markets. The dollar fell against nearly all of its main rivals Tuesday after U.S. retail sales declined in June for the first time in 4 months. Retail sales came out 0.6%, worse than expected. The Federal Reserve Chairwoman Janet Yellen will likely be asked about the sales report during her testimony before the House Financial Services Committee on Wednesday. The Dow and Nasdaq both had very small movements, which extended yesterday's quite big gains, and the Dixie is down to 96.72 from 97. And today we'll be expecting the interest rate decision, statement and press conference from Canada. Also, we have Fed's Yellen speech, as I mentioned, capacity utilization, industrial production month on month, and producer price index year on year, all from the USA. Onto the EU markets, German CPI came out as expected. However, the economic sentiment shows that full optimism isn't quite yet back. For Germany, the ZEW economic sentiment came out 0.3 worse than expected, and for the Eurozone, 8.4 worse than expected. The big question is whether Tsipras can maintain the backing of his own party and stay in office long enough to see the agreement completed, his toughest political test since he swept to power in January. That's because the austerity measures in the deal are much more stringent than those rejected by Greek voters just over a week ago. At the same time, the DAX and the CAC were little changed. Today we have the ZEW survey about expectations in Switzerland and 10-year bond auction in Germany. Onto the UK markets. Carney speech was yesterday. The pace of rate hikes will be gradual. Carney said a higher interest rate increases the return on deposits held in a given currency, making the currency more attractive to foreign investors. Carney also voiced his doubts about the Euro project, the sustainability of the Greek debt, and the prospects of the Greek economy if the debt deal is accepted. The information before the speech that the inflation is 0%, way below the desired 2%. Most economists don't expect interest rate to rise from the current 0.5% before 2016, but Carney told that households should start to manage their finances with the hike in mind. The FTSE 100 moved up 16 points yesterday and closed at 66.97. The 10-year gilt yields were at 2.123% yesterday, which was a gain of 0.19%. The cable 16 points up yesterday with 19 points range. And investors are looking toward Wednesday's UK jobs and wage report for May. Onto the Asian markets, the Australia's dollar strengthened from near a 6-year low as China's economy expanded more than predicted. The Aussie advanced against all its 16 major counterparts as the Chinese data reduced concern about Australia's major trading partner. China's gross domestic product rose 7% compared with a year earlier. The Bank of Japan trimmed its forecasts for inflation and economic growth Wednesday, but kept the scope of its monetary easing unchanged as widely expected. The central bank said the current fiscal year, ending in March 2016, would see the core consumer price index rise 0.7%, down from its April forecast for a gain of 0.8%. Likewise, it said the economy would grow by 1.7%, down from a previous projection of 2%. The Bank of Japan also cut its core CPI forecast for fiscal 2016 and 17 years, but kept its growth for estimates for those years unchanged. The Japanese yen showed little reaction to the new outlook. The Westpac consumer confidence from Australia came out 3.7% better than previous, And tomorrow we'll be waiting for CPI index year on year and quarter on quarter from New Zealand. All right, last section, commodities. Crude futures rose sharply on Tuesday afternoon, rallying from significant losses in the morning session after Iran and a group of Western powers finally agreed to terms on a comprehensive nuclear deal. The API will release its inventories report later in the day, while Wednesday's government report could show crude stockpiles fell by 2.1 million barrels in the week ended July 10th. U.S. natural gas prices rose to a 4-week high on Tuesday. Gold had a range of $7 at $11.54 now. Silver had a range of 22 cents at $15.30. Now, crude had $2.40 range at $53.06 now. And natural gas is trading at $2.81 at the moment with the range of 11 cents. Thank you everybody for listening. This was today's European Session Outlook. Until tomorrow, goodbye.